So India Taylor and myself, Reverend Paula Skiles, would like to welcome you this morning to our service. And as we begin, I'd like to ask you to just follow with me over the next several messages that we are going to record over this next 6 weeks, because I'm going to be doing a service based on the book Lessons of the Turtle, Living Right Side Up by Steve Goudier. So today, my first message from Lessons from the Turtle is about choosing, and it's titled, Choosing Isn't an Option. So our story opens with Turtle, and he's ambling along, and he finds himself tumbling head over shell. Just down this embankment, and he's slipped on a loose rock, right? And he gets down, and as he falls, he's not really feeling any pain, but then he's thinking, oh, well, this must be what it's like when I'm going to die. This must be how I'm going to die. But he gets down, and he finds himself upside down. Hardly restful, because he recognizes this is a very vulnerable thing for a turtle, is to be upside down. Between the efficient ants or the wayward coyote or even a fox or something like that, then it's quite possible that he would meet his demise, right? And of course the blazing sun, and this turtle happens to like to live in the water. So Turtle begins to shout, and he begins to scream and holler, and he's asking for help. And then finally, his voice is just raspy, and his whole sense of help coming, his hope is dimmed, and he is just spent. He's just kind of laying there almost. And as he's laying there, he's like wondering, why has this happened? And I don't know about you. When something happens to me really dramatic, challenging, difficult, painful, sometimes I might think, why me? I don't know, maybe you thought that too. But I would invite you to think about it this way. Turtle says, you know what? I'm going to set things straight with the universe, right? He says, I'm not very clumsy. I'm not usually clumsy. He says, and I usually watch where I'm going. How was I to know that the rock was loose, right? And it could be any number of things in our life. We wonder about these loose rocks. Okay. We find ourselves upside down, right? Anyway, so he's making this comment, right? And he's, like many of us, looking for someone to blame. Somebody's got to be to blame, right? All right. So, and he's just told the universe, I'm not the one to blame here, right? Anyway, so he's startled because all of a sudden there's this voice, and it's Owl speaking to him. And Owl has said, then it must be the fault of the rock, right? Okay, so Owl, who had been listening, he offers to help Turtle if he will open his eyes. Now, Turtle has been keeping his eyes closed. He's terrified, right? Sometimes you and I do the same things, Something happens, and we don't want to look at what's going on. We don't want to see everything, because everything we've felt so far is not pleasant, right? So anyway, he doesn't want to see what dying looks like, right? All right, so you remember that Woody Allen quote, I am not afraid of dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens? So finally, Owl has convinced him to open just one eye. And when he does, all he sees is blue. And this is something he's never seen before. And he's awestruck. And Owl tells him, you see all those little specks up there? Those are birds. They're flying. And so he's just amazed, And Turtle is like, he knows, as far as he knows, no other turtle has seen this blue before. And as he's laying there, finally he opens both eyes and he's looking around and he sees the clouds and he sees the other birds flying and he looks up and he sees blue everywhere. And so he begins to relax. He begins to let go of his fear. So let me share just a thought from the book. He says, Owl says to him, "How is it that no other turtle beside you is in this predicament?" And Turtle answered, "Because I chose a different route than the others." And Owl says, "So you chose your own way?" "Yes, I decided which way to go," says Turtle. And Owl, "That is a great power you possess. It's the power to choose your own way. The accident happened to you because you chose a different path. How would you have felt if you'd made it to the stream without falling?" "Well, I would have felt wonderful," exclaimed Turtle. "I found a new and shorter way to get to the green grass and back." But it wasn't a good choice. And Owl answers, "Not every choice will work out as you expect, but in the end, the choices you will make you. There is a hidden gift in the accident. You have discovered that you possess the power of choice, to choose your way through life. And the gift of the accident is the lesson of choice. And those who understand the gift will choose their own ways through life." So today, we're talking about how choosing really isn't an option, because you and I are not born losers. You're not born winners. You're born choosers. You are born choosers. Everything you think and feel is how you can and do respond and make choices. And that's what you can control. You and I, many times in my life, things happen and I would like to think I could control everything that happens. I would even like to control the things that have happened and I didn't particularly like the way they were going. And unfortunately, it's kind of like a game of cards. You don't get to choose the cards that are dealt to you. But what you can choose is how you're going to deal with it, right? How you're going to play. And so many of us, we decide we're going to play victim. Uh-oh, I shoulda. I coulda. I woulda. But when we live in shoulda, coulda, woulda, it keeps us from being I did. I have. I overcome. Now, I'm going to offer this thought. Choosing isn't an option. Everything you think, every decision you and I make, every action we take contributes to the experiences of our lives, all right? And you know what? Even if you don't choose, you're still making a choice. I'd like to share a story about Joseph Henry. And some of you may know who Joseph Henry is. Joseph Henry was an American scientist who invented electromagnets. And he was also served as the first secretary of the Smithsonian Institution. All right? So the story goes that Joseph Henry's grandfather was paying for a cobbler to make shoes for Joseph Henry. All right? And Joseph went, and the cobbler asked him, he showed him rounded-toed shoes, and he showed him flat, square-toed shoes. And he asked him, which one would you like? And Joseph just looked at the shoes, and he couldn't make up his mind. And so the cobbler told him, he says, well, I'll give you a couple of days to make up your mind. And so young Joseph came back the next day. He looked at the shoes and he was just like, oh, I just can't do this. I just can't, have you ever been there? I just can't make this choice. I don't want to make this choice, right? So these shoes, it was a big decision for Joseph. It really was. These shoes were going to be something he was going to wear for a long time. And they were very expensive back then to have shoes made, all right? And he didn't want his grandfather paying for something that was going to be expensive and and he wanted to like them, all right? Well, you and I want the same things in life, we want to like what the choices we make, make it something that works for us. Anyway, so Joseph comes back in on the third day, and the cobbler hands him a little brown parcel. Do you want to know what was in it? Mm-hmm.
Shoes.
Absolutely, a pair of shoes. One had a square toe, one had a round toe. All right. Young Joseph learned a very important lesson at that point in his life, all right? And that is, if you don't make a decision for yourself, someone else will do it for you, and you really probably won't like the choice they make for you most of the time. So there is great power. There is great power in the moment-by-moment choices that you and I make. The law of mind action states that what you and I routinely think and feel will outpicture in our lives, all right? The Bible states it this way: as you thinketh in your heart, so is he. So if you understand the heart, it's in the Bible, the heart was like your conscience, your mind, the essence of who you are, all right? And it's like, as you thinketh, as you feel, as you think and feel over and over, as you do these things, these are the things that make up who you are. They make up who you become, and so therefore what outpictures in your life. So we create our reality through what we think and feel. Good news, bad news, what we're experiencing, you choose. But choosing isn't an option. And so I would encourage you that if you have some choices that you've been putting off, it's a lot better to make any choice than to let those around you choose for you, all right? Because you have the power to make a choice. Now, you want to change what's happening? Change your thinking. Change your life. All right, so we go back to, truth is, sometimes things happen in our life and it doesn't feel like we can respond in any way. Why? Normally, remember when I said something about not making choices, letting ourselves be the victim, so to speak? We can't respond. We can't have the ability, responsibility, response ability, if what we're doing is allowing ourselves to just sit back and say, there's nothing I can do. I have no power. I can't make a choice. I don't have. I'm not able. I'm not capable. All of those things. We're still making a choice whether we realize it or not. And those kinds of choices simply take us down that rabbit hole of feeling more and more imprisoned, more and more without any sense of freedom to choose. Now, I'm not saying that things haven't happened and life hasn't been unfair sometimes, right? Things do. And the problem is when you and I have to try to fix blame, sometimes the only choice we have is about making an acceptance of this has happened. And I have to accept it. And that's our only choice, is acceptance. So anyway, this morning I would like to let you take a moment to be inspired with India Taylor as she shares from Daniel Nahman's Love is My Decision.
And I chose this song because it celebrates our sacred gift to make new choices for our highest good. Love is my decision, up to me to give up decision right here and now. Love is my decision. Up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. Up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
Thank you, India. Absolutely. And so this morning, I would like to offer this thought. It's really not about what life is bringing to us, but about the attitudes that you and I bring to life, all right? There's a great philosopher, Buddy Hackett. He once said, "My mother's menu consisted of 2 choices, take it or leave it." Ever feel that way? In some choices, as I've said, it may be simply the only choice we have is acceptance. But you know what? I think about it this way. It's important to recognize that when you and I really understand we have a choice, we make the choice of how we're going to experience something. We can change that experience. We can change anything that's going on in our lives, as well as the experience itself, by what we choose to think and feel about it. Remember Jesus' beautiful words when his disciples asked him, "Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" And our master teacher, in his infinite wisdom, says, "Neither, but that God may be glorified." Now let's think about that for a moment. You know, this was a society like our own who was looking for who's to blame here. Who's to blame? His parents or the grandparents or whatever. You know, there's an old saying that, you know, the sins of the father are placed upon the child all the way back for 7 generations. And, you know, when we find ourselves in this situation where we're trying to find someone to blame, or we're trying to think, all it takes is a simple choice to decide that, you know what? At this moment, who's to blame isn't important. What is what is going on in my life. And how can I make this where it's something that glorifies God? Because in that process, you and I become victorious over that circumstance. In that process, you and I are able to express something completely different in and bring a different energy to it, because then you have the energy of God being put into that situation. Then you have the energy, and the choices that you make will have such a different outcome, because what you're doing is you are changing your attitude, changing the way you experience it, changing everything about it, how you're thinking about it, how you're feeling about it. And in the end, it changes that experience completely. And instead of having to ask, why me? You can have thoughts like, I can choose peace. I can choose love. I can choose something different than what I might ordinarily do. An indigenous American motivational speaker named Eagle Bear wrote, think of your life as a canoe and your decisions and actions as a paddle. You get where you're going one paddle stroke at a time with the decisions and actions you make. We all want to go somewhere. We're going to go there, wherever it is. And it's through our decisions and actions that we get wherever we're going. Now, sometimes we take the scenic route, or we don't take the right exit, or the left exit. And I would offer this morning, you know what? That's truly where that capacity to stop ourselves and to think, I have a choice. I have a choice. There's a gift. And the lesson of the turtle is, I can choose how I'm going to live in this experience. I can choose how I'm going to experience it. Gretchen Alexander was born blind, and despite being unable to see her entire life, she has experienced many activities such as archery, golf, baseball, sailing, water skiing. And she was once asked during an interview if there was anything she would not do. And she thought for a moment. She answered, I've decided to never skydive. It would scare the heck out of my dog. Her seeing eye dog would be the reason she wouldn't do it. This is a woman who doesn't let the circumstances of her life dictate her choices. It doesn't let her stop her from experiencing a fullness of life. And you and I can be the same way. And I would tell you this morning, I pray for you that you are recognizing you can choose. You can choose a different thought, a different process. And you can choose God. You can choose love. Thank you for being with us this morning. And India, what are we going to be closing with?
We're going to go forth on that positive note with Ricky Byers' song, I'm Choosing Heaven Today. A choice. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing joy today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today.
Thank you. Thank you. We are very grateful to have the opportunity to have spent our time with you. And if you feel like you have been given something that helps you in your life, we are so grateful, and this has made it worth being with you this way. We look forward to when we can be with you in service again. And remember, it'll happen on June 7th. So we will be continuing to do our internet services, but they will be with our church congregants now. So we look forward to having you with us in whatever way you can be with us. And if you would like to share of your joy and make a choice, you can offer something to our church to help us and to make sure that we're able to serve every way that we can. There is a button on our website where you can donate through PayPal. God bless you, and thank you for being with us.